MouseHunt. Welcome to Feedback Friday. Today is August 19, 2022. Good morning, afternoon, or evening to everybody. Hopefully everybody is doing well today. So we have 65 hunters hanging out with us, or with me here. Hello, everybody. Lady Matt Roland, Dwayne Rogers says, I'm supposed to be in the garage right now building some shelves for my wife. Well, thank you for joining me. I guess with a little bit of procrastination, maybe. Hopefully the shelf project goes well for you all the same, though. Hey, Ryan, welcome back. Been a while since you've watched one live. Well, welcome, welcome. Snowy, hello. You've been missing the live stream for a few weeks now. You're darn tired from work. Well, hopefully you've had some time to recoup and rest up. Hello, Free Schmidt in the chat. Brian, hello to you. Mudkip. Yoshira, Sean, hello, hello. Meyer Zappy. There's a Nid popping in as well. Thank you very much there, Nid. In the stream, Dave announces the exact release dates for the next 10 years of content updates. Oh boy. I'm going to need a crystal ball or some magic powers for that. Matt says, I'm working right now, but working's in quotes. All right, I think I might get your drift there. Hold on, I'm having some computer difficulties here. Hopefully nothing messes up, but bear with me a second. What is going on here? Oh well, I'm just gonna have to live with it. Well, today I thought we would touch base a little bit on kind of what's in the foreseeable future, in the short-term future. Maybe not 10 years, Ned, but maybe 10 weeks, maybe. We're going to look at Folklore Forest treasure maps, give a little update on where we're at with that, and as well as, hey, event season's just around the corner. Halloween's going to be kicking off. It'll be October before you know it. So I thought we'd as well give a little bit of update on that, see how everyone's feeling about stuff. Which is an okay segue here into, we'll start with Folklore Forest treasure maps. So we've been working on treasure maps for a little bit now, and also taking the opportunity to do a few HUD tweaks, kind of address some feedback we've gotten from players, tie up a few loose ends, maybe some like nice to have stuff that we wanted to get in, but didn't quite have time before the main release came around, and figured, oh, well, you know, can wait and we can add it later. As well as there's some stuff we were uncertain about, like weren't sure what's really the best way to tackle that, and so we thought, hey, what better way, put it out there, see what players think, then we can make some final decisions. And definitely kind of some of the larger things that will come with the treasure map release alongside the maps, of course, is a new plant type in the forward farm. It'll cost crop coins in addition to other materials to help you produce more papyrus. So that was one thing we were kind of uncertain about. We had a lot of different options we could go with. Was what do I do with my crop coins once I'm done all of the farm upgrades? And one iteration, you just purchased papyrus with it, but it just didn't feel very fun. Like while we played, we often forgot to do it. You know, you just every once in a while look up at the HUD and be like, oh, I have 3,000 coins. I should go buy papyrus. And so, you know, as this has come to be, it's a much more fun way because it's built right into the loop. It's like every once in a while you get to grow a super plant once you're kind of used crop coins for everything else, or, you know, depending on your objectives, maybe you want to use your coins to get a little papyrus boost, even if you don't have all the upgrades quite yet. Norm says, I'm also working right now, in quotes. Nid as well working. Hey, J-Sig also working. Well, look, a lot of people joining during the workday here. Me as well. Hey, I'm working right now. We're just all having a good old work party. Sean, 10 minutes till the next hunt, foreseeable future. Frank, yay, event season coming up. Always an exciting time. Good to see some enthusiasm. Swift speculating on what bright item over this side might be above me here as well. That's, you know, something maybe we're just the start of more to come. But we'll kind of wait and kind of see what the speculation is around that. Zappy, Dave announcing 10,000 years of content update. Uh-oh. That'll have to be generational at that point. Sadly, I don't think I'll be around to see that one. Sour Mash popping in. Nice to see you. How's it going, everybody? Some Nid spreading rumor of Grand Parental being the next big power type. All right, yeah, Folklore Forest gonna, you know, maybe go into more nursery rhymes kind of thing or something. Yeah. Matt's still holding out for a double charm conduit. You know, I think auras maybe kind of replace the idea of double charm conduit. And I think the ship has sailed now. There's just too many complexities with how they would interact, especially ones that they're more than just stat boosts. They might do special things in certain areas. It gets a little hard to predict what's going to happen when you kind of arm them, and as well as like order of operations, which charm goes first, right? If like something makes a loot drop and something doubles a loot drop, the order of operations all of a sudden gets important. So I don't think it's coming at any time in the future anyway. But back to Folklore Forest as well. So the farm being one of the big ones we'll touch on here, as well as the table of contents, trying to smooth out, well, when I finish writing a book and I have the denture base armed, or I'm using some really good charms, how can we smooth that out? And actually, there's a lot of inspiration from 2 Feedback Fridays ago. Maybe disarming bait is kind of the easiest way to do that. And actually, if you have some ingenuity about you, the ingenuity of Hunters on Discord, you can kind of do it already. If you set your preferred bait to something and then you sell all that bait, and when you finish writing, you'll switch back and have 0 pieces of that arm. So that was a bit of an ingenious way of doing it, as it is right now anyway. Oh, and I still got Discord up here. There you go. Find that sucker. But here we can take a little closer look as well. The Forward Farm updates coming. Some HUD tweaks, improvements based on feedback. I grabbed a quick little snippet here. This was quite the revelation, actually. Was using some icons on the mobile HUD button there as well to kind of give you a quick heads-up display, quick snapshot of what am I growing and when can I next harvest. As well as grabbed a quick screen cap that's from the browser version down below as well of the new type of plant. So kind of, I think that might be a placeholder asset. If Norm's still kicking around, he could probably correct me if that's not. It actually looks pretty official to me. So, but right now we're calling it a twisted papyrus plant. So that'll cost crop coins. It's a great use for your excess crop coins, especially once you have all the upgrades going. And it'll give you a nice injection of papyrus as well. So, but also summon a more challenging but rewarding mouse at the same time. So one new mouse even coming with the treasure map release, which is kind of a bit of a rarity as far as treasure map releases go. But that was a little bit of feedback we got as well. Like players looking for that extra challenge at the farm, right? Like it kind of felt like that might have been something missing, or just it would make it a little bit more fun. The pond has a big kind of boss difficult to capture mouse if you arm Stormy, Clam, and Bear. Table of contents, obviously, that's where the main showdown occurs, and it's very challenging as well. And so hopefully this all came together in a nice way where it's opt-in. You can choose, well, if I plant these plants, then I'm going to get a big bad mouse is going to come out, and they have some rewarding drops. So it's a good time. Hey, if I've got my auras going, if I've got some charms to use, it's a good time to kind of go all out. Or otherwise, I kind of play it safe and I grow some different plants and it all works out. Munt kept jumping to the conclusion, parental area confirmed. Oh dear. One day it will remove the parental power type. But Ryan says, feels like Forward Farm is too easy now. Perhaps we should have higher yields over at Prologue Pond instead. I think it has a nice back and forth. And you'd be, kind of once you get all the upgrades going, if anything, the pond starts to feel like it might be the easier of the two. So they each have their own unique kind of style, right? Like the 3 areas aren't meant to be identical, kind of reskinned versions of each other. They all have their own unique play style, their own character and kind of personality, and that's very intentional to make it feel like, well, it's not just like the Fungal Cavern and Froma feel very similar, right? It's just kind of a different theme of doing the same thing with a different pace to it. Whereas these actually have very kind of distinct differences. So kind of as you're going throughout the whole journey, it kind of feels fresh along the way at every step as well. Norman confirms the plant asset is a placeholder. That's a pretty good placeholder. I'm impressed with that one. It's actually just a hue shifted version of the Parable Papyrus plant asset. Well, wonderful nevertheless. Turtle, new plant at the farm. Would it make time spent even more unbalanced between the farm and the pond? They're relatively, depends on your strategy and depends on your approach, whether you'll spend more time at the farm or the pond. But it's definitely not intentional that it isn't meant to be, 50% here, 50% there in the same way. Other areas, think about the floating islands. It isn't like you're meant to spend equal times at each power type island. It's just kind of the way you go through it. And the choices you make are going to influence whether you spend more time farming and less time fishing, or vice versa. And different players might prefer one area over the other, and so they might use different resources in a different area to either try to minimize their time there or make their most of time elsewhere. Alex, oops, got here late. Time to listen to Dave at 2 times speed. Well, thanks for joining us, Alex. Hopefully you enjoy the chipmunk voice. Yeah, Norman currently, when you have all the upgrades, the pond has a much higher yield than the farm. It's just more front loaded than the farm. Yeah, kind of the journey changes over time, as you kind of get the different pacing of upgrades, things, change. It also depends on, your strategy. Are you hunting with Stormy Clam and Bear, and what charms are you using, right? If you fail to catch that mouse a little bit, and all of a sudden your ink is starting to not stockpile as quickly as your papyrus. Or and the yield of papyrus would need to be high, or else you'd spend more time than normal to plant due to your excessive fail to catch. Well, what is excessive, right? It's a choice you're going to have to make based on what charms you have in your repertoire. Maybe you went above and beyond in the floating islands and you get that tier 2 tactical trap. Here's a good place to put it to use. If you don't, if you're using the Chrome Sphinx in forward farm, maybe you don't do that, right? So, kind of the goal is based on your own hunting preferences and what your equipment you have available to you. You make different choices. And, there's no right or wrong. There's just the right decision to make for you. Yeah, Nathan says, everyone's saying easy has the tier 2 tactical trap. Exactly. That is a very above and beyond. So you see, that is your reward. If you put in all that extra effort to get that big, huge, extraordinarily difficult to get tactical trap, your reward is the farm mice. You can just obliterate them. But hey, there will be now one adversary that maybe will, be worthy of that challenge. But like I said, by using a plant, it's for the most part very opt-in, right? You can kind of avoid it if it's a little too challenging, or if you're prepped for it and you've got everything, you've checked all the boxes, you can kind of step up to the plate and see how you fare. Generically, most strategies seem to skip hunting with Clam and Bear in favor of Story Clam. Is there a balance issue between drops driving this? No, quite intentional, right? Feels good. You can never have too much Clam and Bear because you can make Stormy Clam and Bear, so... And that might be a good segue into the pond. Not too much new coming in the way of the pond. Take this down as well here. Hey, I got a Myth Weaver. Somebody took me on a hunt. All right, first one of this encyclopedia run. Not too much new in the way of kind of gameplay coming to the pond. Just some small quality life improvements, kind of getting feedback from players. One obvious one down in that bottom right corner, adding an indicator of what loot you're going to get and what's the quantity as well, similar to words written at the table of contents, as well as growth per catch in the farm. So, the other two areas have that little indicator down there. Just kind of hindsight, can't believe we didn't think of that right off the bat there. So, that seems like something obvious to add, as well as tuning the mobile HUD kind of little call to action button on your camp section there to more easily know whether you're using Brainstorm Chum or not, and kind of get some inventory indicators going as well. Kind of playing around with that a little bit. KDM, I need an extra upgrade to double clan drops again, and then hey, why not another one after that? I could use another one too. Matt, Dave, and Norm just want to say this is that this new area is a really nice addition to the game. Really enjoy it. Well, glad to hear it. And I think the whole team put in just a lot of great, fantastic work. I think it turned out exceptionally well. Just loving kind of having even 3 areas in one sort of little story there. It just makes everything feel fun to go through, and lots of different, phases. And at least for me, that's what I've been enjoying playing through it, is just, on a day-to-day basis, like I'm going to spend today at the pond, or I'm going to spend the next couple days at the farm, or even last weekend, kind of went to a family kind of potluck picnic, and I knew, well, probably not going to be sounding my horn as much. I'm going to go to the farm and queue up a bunch of plants, and when I come back, I get to harvest all the plants. Awesome. So it's got a lot of nice different feels to me. Myra, I'm collecting pennies with Clam and Bear to save on your signature series dental base usage. Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the use case there. If you're going to hunt with Clam and Bear, maybe you don't have the Chrome School of Sharks. Maybe you don't have a bunch of toothlets. Maybe you don't have 1,000, ultimate tier charms to bust out and go up against the big bad mouse there. So, different choices for different players, but they're all making the right choice for them. And you're just, keeping that in mind. If you're finding like, well, this is, this isn't too challenging, but you're literally throwing everything you've got at it, right? So it makes sense. You should be able to win if you're literally pulling out all the stops and throwing everything you got at something. You should win. The alternative would be frustrating. You lose despite doing everything you can do, possibly do to succeed. So that's kind of feedback we've learned from over the years, right? If you're going all out, if you're doing everything you can possibly do to try to maximize your chances of success, you should succeed, right? You shouldn't fail. And the areas where you just kind of still hit up against this wall and you just kind of end up wasting a lot of resources a lot of time, typically that kind of has a lot of frustration associated with it, a lot of negative feedback. So, kind of take that to heart. Hey, if you're using big charms that you've been hoarding for years and what have you, it's meant to have a high success rate. Reaper says, what was the thought behind first draft cheese feels like a redundant tier? Absolutely, yeah. If you are, that might be a good segue into the table of contents. If you ever find yourself using first draft after kind of the first getting started at the area, just to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit, you've sort of messed up your resource management. So all it is a feedback mechanism outside of when maps come out, might play a small role there. But if you ever find yourself hunting with first draft, you've kind of haven't balanced your curds very well. So hey, if you feel like that cheese is redundant, give yourself a pat on the back. You have mastered the table of contents and you're doing everything in an optimal way, if you will. You're kind of employing a good strategy to really hunt down that myth weaver as often as you can. Yeah, no, we're clarifying too. This was a bit of an old, I didn't even touch this slide since 2 weeks ago. We did go with option A at the top there in the pond there. Thanks, Norm. I didn't even touch that slide from 2 weeks ago. I just got pretty much left it as is, I think, because there weren't too many gameplay or any gameplay changes to the pond, just kind of quality of life interface stuff. But that's a good, like I said, segue into the table of contents. So probably one of the big gameplay things anyway, relatively, it's not huge, but the ability to opt into disarming bait at the end of writing a book. And so this, this is a mock-up. This isn't a final version, but I think the final version is just about good to go. At least Norm was saying the browser version was good to go. Where when you start writing, you can choose, okay, after I publish this book, do I want my bait to disarm, or do I just want to switch back to my normal bait? And probably depending on the type of book you're writing, you might choose a different one. If you're collecting curd, so you're hunting with second draft derby, you probably just want to switch back to Gouda or Super Brie or whatever your preferred cheese is there. Just so if you're away at the time, you switch back into some curd collection mode. But if you're hunting the Myth Weaver, maybe you want your bait to disarm because you're going to get your Signature Series denture base out, or you're going to use kind of some really powerful but precious charms, and you don't want to waste any just in case you're away. Especially because it's hard to predict when your run is going to end, when you're going to publish that book, because the Myth Weaver extends your time there as well. So hopefully that's a welcome addition. I know I think I'm going to welcome it. I tend to craft small batches of final draft towards the end of a run just to make sure I'm around when it comes to an end. Get caught up on the chat a little bit here as well. Eileen, you've been working on a Chrome Slayer map. You'll be back in Folklore Forest when maps drop. The rest of your mapping team will be done with silvers in there by then. Yeah, plenty of time. Like we mentioned a couple weeks ago, we're aiming for the end of September. So, definitely won't be coming in August. And, tentatively, I don't kind of want to pin down an exact date until things are firmed up a little bit. We're more into kind of the testing phase of things. But end of September, you kind of probably easy to guess which Tuesday would fall in line there, but much we're doing our best we can as well, because much later than that, it's going to start to get pretty close to the Halloween event. So we're really doing our best to try to if anything's kind of taking a little extra long, maybe we'll kind of postpone it and take care of it after Halloween or something like that. But things are taking shape at a pretty good pace, so I'm fairly confident we'll be able to get things out by the end of September. Jonathan, whilst everyone is enjoying the Folklore Forest, you are still working toward the Floating Islands. There's only 4 Shadowed Mice left in that area for you. Best of luck, Jonathan, going through the Floating Islands. Daniel, when will Folklore Forest mice be included in normal maps like Slayer and Lightning? Off the top of my head, part of kind of the wrap up of every task is to schedule when we're going to do that. And we usually kind of plan it for the next kind of significant release. And I think we scheduled it, but off the top of my head, I can't remember when we're going to add that. So I don't know, maybe after Halloween, but don't take my word for that. Don't quote me on that. But it is in the pipeline. It will happen sooner than later. Folklore Forest will not likely be in Lightning. Floating Islands wasn't in Lightning. Yeah, actually, fair enough, right? Lightning is technically a Grand Duke level map, so anything above Grand Duke would not go into Lightning maps. Otherwise, somebody or Grand Duke could pick up a Lightning map and be unable to complete it. So actually, that's a very good point in the chat that it's unlikely these mice would be added to the Lightning. But the Elite Slayer, has an Archduke difficulty level, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to review that. It's a bit of a complex relationship between tables and treasure maps, but perhaps in Slayer maps would make sense. Yeah, and Ryan, eagle-eyed, spotting that typo in the mock-up there. There is indeed an I missing in the word, or an N missing in the word publishing. Yeah, spotted as well. Just a mock-up, though. Jonathan, can we get a way to convert first draft cheese into second draft? Might be interesting food for thought. Maybe smash it back into a little bit of curd, but otherwise careful. Don't make cheese that you don't plan on using. Sean, how will the maps look like? Around 20 mice. Would be curious to know what the rewards are too. Might be a little too soon to kind of lean into that a little bit. I mean, one thing we've been keeping our eye on is a way to get Derby curd. So that probably is a pretty popular pick for map reward, but beyond that, still kind of fine-tuning things. Matt, do we ultimately need to have each of the types of books? I think most of us have two really long ones. No, I don't think there's any plans, at least in the short term, to tie anything to specifically having to publish types of books. They're all more just kind of, vanity stats, if you want to call it that. Just kind of interesting thing to open up and look at your journey. I was like, a month from now, what kind of books do I typically publish? What have I been doing the most of? Yeah, Norm with a good addition there as well. You'll be able to change your mind after this. So all the way over there, going back to disarming your bait. Should you choose to, yes, I want my bait to disarm when I publish, the HUD itself has a way to change your mind after you start writing. So, if you start it up and you're like, no, you know what, I am going to go to sleep soon. Yeah, please disarm my bait. I don't think I'll be around when I end my run. Moose Booze in the chat asking, do you plan to keep bait keeps around when making a new area? It was an interesting, topic, and that came up during development of this area, actually, and kind of some choices to be made there. And we thought this would actually be a pretty good release to kind of see how bait keeps feel in that capacity. Definitely been some chat of whether, maybe they need a title restriction on them. Maybe there needs to be a grace period where they can't be used for so long. Or maybe they need to transition into something like a voucher where you're allowed to get free cheese with them. But that's a curated list, so it won't work everywhere. But yeah, interesting to kind of see how players feel, what their sentiment is as well. Something we wanted to keep an eye on. We thought this release is kind of a really great one to kind of see what feedback comes up, because it's actually in a pretty interesting spot where the time where it's most advantageous to be using a bait keep charm. The mice are also pretty challenging as well, so there's a slight trade-off. I mean, in the long term, you're probably still better off just catching fewer mice but not having to recollect the cheese. But that said, once you get all the upgrades going, the cheese isn't all that hard to get anymore. So there's at least it's a bit of an interesting decision to make, spending such a valuable resource like a bait keep, knowing, well, in the grand scheme of things, this cheese won't be that hard to create anymore, and I'm sacrificing kind of a decent chunk of catch rate. So anyway, keep the kind of feedback suggestions coming. Something we're keeping an eye on. We'll probably review again in the new year and kind of see how we want to go with the next release. Swift looking forward to maps says, wake me up when September ends, eh? Nathan, can you make hunting with one of the draft derby cheeses start a new book rather than fail to attract? Can you make hunting with as in so you don't have to be around to start your next book, like kind of queuing book publishing? Probably not. There are some things I think the hunter still needs to show up and like you need to be there and grab the steering wheel. It's MouseHunt's in an interesting spot. It's not an idle game per se. It's still something that encourages you to come back and kind of just guide the boat a little bit. Just move the rudder a little bit now and then, adjust the sail, course correct where you need to, and so it's kind of definitely a design direction. We're always trying to tune that balance of making sure it's easy to play passively and it doesn't demand too much attention, but it also isn't something you can just completely forget about. It isn't like other idle games where numbers just go up, and it's just whether you check in once a month or once an hour. It's not very different. It's just even just kind of once a day, just kind of seeing what's going on type of thing. So we don't want to automate too much of it. Jessico asks, how would someone get the collectible if they missed it in the pre-release event? Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Mythweaver drops it, so you can go get it from the Mythweaver, but it is not a guaranteed drop. And there's Norm chiming in shortly thereafter. Yes, so the Enchanted Page collectible, the Mythweaver has a rare chance to drop it if you don't already have one. Correct. So you can only have one of those in your inventory, so the Mythweaver will drop it if you don't have one. Matt used quite a few bait keeps in the table of contents. Yeah, Daniel, people pour a lot of work into bait keep as well. Yeah, they're a very kind of valuable, hard to obtain resource as well. And so in some ways it feels great to be able to use it in a very powerful, meaningful way. Yeah, Alex, the median of 8. It was a bit of an older number, but it's something that we've been mulling over and we've been closely keeping an eye on and getting, kind of collating different feedback and different signals on for 2 years, if you can believe it or not. So it's a bit of an old number. It's from 2 years ago. But of hunters who own at least one bait keep, the median quantity they have is 8. So the vast majority of people do not have a whole lot of bait keep charms. But hindsight, I think if we had a time machine, we would probably not put them in maps. It was born out of, hey, Slayer maps didn't exist at the time, and there's a lot of feedback, a lot of enthusiasm around, hey, can we have a map that has all the toughest mice in the game on it, like a boss mouse map. And what made us drag our heels for so long is we just couldn't think of a reward that felt appropriate for just that difficult of a map, right? Because the map would be so hard that to go through all that effort kind of needed something very unique with a strong identity that is just yeah, I can never have too many of these. I just love them. And so hence Baitkeep really scratched that itch really well. But, just technically anything in a map's treasure chest is tradable. And Baitkeeps aren't a great fit for a tradable resource because they're more fun when you don't have very many of them, right? So you have to really kind of and haw and choose very carefully where you want to make them work. So, if we had a time machine, I think that's some advice we'd give to us, long ago. I forget when that was, probably before Mouseu Picchu came out, somewhere around that era. Is maybe avoid putting them in treasure maps and kind of have a more kind of controlled avenue in which you obtain them. So kind of everyone's on equal playing field in terms of being able to earn them. Charles says, can we have a mechanism to increase the catch rate slightly as more of the same mouse we catch? Practice makes perfect. Yeah, hey, that's an interesting suggestion that used to come up a little bit more often a while ago, but something like crowns, kind of giving you just a little luck bonus against that mouse or something. It is kind of neat, but nothing in the cards for that in the short term. Jonathan, Baitkeep is a nice boost, doesn't seem broken to you. Yeah, it is a nice little boost. Like I said, I think where we settled with it is they're the most fun when you don't have a lot of them, right? So, but anyway, they're kind of where they are now, and it's just kind of thinking about where you want to go with them. Myra asks, is there a way to see the array of encyclopedias of lore you've written, not just the number of the longest? Nope. Unfortunately, sometimes we got to pick our battles a little bit and which kind of stats we log, and if we kind of log too much, then we want to make sure the things we log we get lots of value out of as well. So sometimes you can't kind of log every little thing, unfortunately. Yeah, Jonathan, I thought the potential for Baitkeep usage makes for some interesting choices. Yeah, definitely. Kind of where you put them to use. It's always tempting to go to the Eclipse. If you just, if you want gold, it's like, well, that's a pretty, repeatable gold adventure I could go on. And too, I thought I think that's where we landed out with the Folklore Forest being a great sort of temperature check on them, because a lot of the times it's advantageous in these areas is when the mice are also the most difficult, and the upgrading system as well just kind of makes the cheese easier to get over time. So it's in a neat spot. Nathan, Baitkeep just speeds up the initial upgrades, but isn't nearly as beneficial as you upgrade. Does planned around that very well. Yeah, hey, yeah, Nathan, you kind of hit the nail on the head there as well. That's kind of why we thought this was a good kind of temperature check for them. Because they're very powerful maybe right at the start, but then kind of eventually it's like, well, why would I use those? I mean, that cheese isn't that hard to make. Hannah, wonder where the next hunt clock is found. I wouldn't mind having it. Oh, down below me here. This is me forgetting to sound my horn during Feedback Friday prompted me to make a little widget, but it's just something I slapped together. Nano says catch rate with bait keeps are garbage in the table of contents, so it's a very good sync. Yeah, it's a good time if you do have a lot. You can kind of blow through them awfully quick, and you're rewarded for going further at the table of contents. So there's some thought has to go into, would I rather do many not very good encyclopedias, or do I just want to do fewer but higher quality encyclopedias? And it kind of comes down to what you have available to you. Daniel, with a King's Calibrator cart, will it include Folklore Forest stuff? Almost said Fabled Forest. It was close there. Eventually, right? Even the Calibrator was recently upgraded with floating islands. It just kind of comes down the road a little bit. So it's one of there's a few mechanisms in the game that serve a challenge with the game is that things take a while to complete, right? Which is it's fun. There's that's part of the challenge and the accomplishment, but there's sort of a point where it gets unreasonable, right? Like if somebody starts the game tomorrow and you've been playing for 10 years and it's like, oh, do you want to play together? Sure, just give me like 4 years and I'll be where you are, and then give me another couple years to make some upgrades happen, So it's tricky to get the balance right, but the calibrator and things like that, and even the King's Cart, are ways to just kind of, you can choose to speed up some areas a little bit, and always got to tune that balance. We don't want it to go so fast that then it takes away from some of the accomplishments and the achievements of the past. So it can be tricky to get it just right. But that's why we kind of wait a little bit until there's a need for that, right? Where you might have friends who are looking to play with in the same area as you, and it's just an unreasonable amount of time to be able to just experience the same thing, right? You might still have better traps, and you might be able to experience it in a different way, but at least you can play together, right? So there's a few things in the game where we just try to tune that a little bit, but that's why they come down the road. Reaper, can you clarify what you mean by using Nobel prizes to boost area loot? Fair enough, I'm not doing a very good job at actually kind of hitting some topics here. Yeah, definitely. A couple major things we wanted to hit, or notes we wanted to hit with the treasure map release was one, hey, crop coins. What do I do with them after I have all the upgrades? And as we kind of touched on earlier, new type of plant. Cool, awesome. Now I can use my coins to just get papyrus that much faster, and I can never have too much papyrus, because that means I get to go to the table of contents, and while I'm at the table of contents, I don't get a significant amount of papyrus, so awesome, cool. Everything works out. The pond was already in such a great place, because if you have all the upgrades and you don't need pennies, you buy Brainstorm Chum and you get ink instead, right? So like you're in control there. If you have too many pennies, stop hunting for pennies, right? But that just left the table as well. The Nobel prizes were left over. Hey, I have all the upgrades, I have all the traps, and so there are maybe a few more cosmetic options, but at the end of the day, that still isn't a good consumable. And so kind of alluding a little bit at this mysterious page-looking thing here being a bit of an unstable item that you can get with your excess Nobel prizes as a way to cash out for more area loot, so maybe help you sustain the cycle, help you get back to the Mythweaver that much faster by throwing away your Nobel prize, well, not throwing them away, but you spend your Nobel prizes to get stuff to restart the area with, and ultimately when you get back there, then you're kind of running at a deficit of Nobel prizes. So cool, now I can never have too many Nobel prizes. They help me get to the Mythweaver. Maybe I'm working on a King's Crown. Maybe just trying to set a new personal best for most volumes written. Very useful there. As well as another avenue, add some powerful charms as well. It seems like there's been a lot of feedback. This area has been a great time to kind of, dust off some of those charms in your inventory that you were saving for a powerful mouse. When you really want to just, boost your catch rate by a good margin. as well, you could use your prizes to get, help sustain that a little bit. We're still kind of massaging the final details there, but so far it's going in a good space. But kind of lots of play testing to get that right. But wanted to get kind of the share the design direction there, right? Of help you kind of restart earlier in the cycle with some more supplies, or maybe you just want a lot of great charms. Hey, if you're done with the area, I don't want any more papyrus. I don't want any more ink. I'm ready to go on and do something else, but I have 7,000 prizes. Cool. Here's a bunch of pretty good charms. You can use those anywhere, right? So at least you can kind of cash out your prizes and be done with them that way. Book poking, LOL, says Daniel. There's some fun pokables. Check your inventory if you haven't recently. Go to the special section, type the word unstable to search for them all, and it is awfully fun just to poke a few. Let's see. I wonder if I have any fun ones to do here. I don't. I've opened all my unstable items. No fun to be had for me. Shotgun Jack says, Baitkeep suffer from the elixir syndrome. Highly useful, therefore never used. In game design, we call that too good, can't use. That's what that's called. When you finish a game and you look in your inventory, it's like, oh, right, I never used the rocket launcher because they only gave me like 3 rockets. Or, oh, that quad damage that you get only once per playthrough. I never used it because I was saving it for when I might need it, and I ended up never using it. It's called too good, can't use. Nathan says, suggestion about starting a book with draft derby cheeses won't cue the books back because it switches your bait at the end. It was more of a friend hunt, trap check type thing. And ultimately, this will empower you, right? You can choose to have your bait disarmed. So obviously, friends can't take you on a hunt while you have your bait disarmed. If you don't have, like something like the denture base or, a charm you don't want to waste, then just, leave it on, switch back to my normal cheese and, switch back to Gouda or whatever you want to use. Just, that's how it exists right now. That functionality is already there. And then you're just collecting curds when you go on a hunt there. Swift says, seems like an endless cycle. So maybe a little bit of agency there. You get to choose, do I want more things? Kind of like when you finish an eruption in Queso Geyser. If you play your cards right, depending on the choices you make, on what cheese you use during the eruption, you can get back a lot of bland queso, which means you can get back there sooner. Or if you make different choices, you're not going to get as much bland queso back, which means it's going to take you longer to get back to the eruption. Something similar going on there. So some agency. Do you want to kind of get back to that spot quickly? Or would you prefer to have other stuff and it takes you longer to get back to where you were? And, it depends on what your short, medium, and long-term goals are, and what inventory and what items you have at your disposal will determine what the best decision for you is in that circumstance. What's the fancy book? I don't know if we've quite finalized the name. I think I awfully like the names. I think Norm named them, and I think they have a great name. But I won't name them just in case we change the name. But it's kind of like a pokeable, unstable item. Much like a Valor Rift, right? Cores. It's like, what do I do with my cores? Once I have all the pages, you have the unstable Rift core you can exchange them into, and you can poke those. Dwayne says, I love unstable items. Me too. I'm sad now. I don't have any. I just assumed I would open up my inventory. It'd be one of those things you just forget to use, But no, I don't have any small gifts from past self. Fernandez, when are you releasing the shadow location for Folklore Forest? We haven't even seen the woods there yet. Well, all good things in time. But definitely, want to expand on the Folklore Forest region a little bit. And as alluded to in previous Feedback Fridays, not all the time, but often enough, the traps that you earn in an area might help you with the areas that come after it. So, take that for what it is. You earn a great physical and a great shadow trap from the table of contents, so those might be useful going forward. If all goes according to plan anyway. On that note, where are we looking here? 40 minutes, which maybe switch over to the trivia. Actually, no, Halloween. I haven't even touched on Halloween. I knew I was getting ambitious to cover so many things. I did want to just quickly touch on Halloween. I'm sure it'll be a topic in other Feedback Fridays as well, but just to kind of in some official capacity announce, hey, the Boiling Cauldrons, Baba Gaga's Boiling Cauldron, will be coming back, making a repeat appearance here. As well as we've kind of putting together just a few new unique potions to earn from the event as well. Some HUD adjustments and tweaks we're going to see. Lots of great ideas actually using feedback from last year. Kind of want to see how much we have time to do. I think that's the biggest limiter right now is just what we're going to have time to get in there. But lots of great feedback came up last year of just, oh, I wish this worked a little bit differently, or this interface was a little hard to use. So we're hoping we have time to just tune those things a little bit. As well as the Gloomwood charms were a bit of a late addition into the event last year as well. Just kind of as we were playtesting, late in playtesting, we just, I wish I had one more thing that I could just throw at, when I want to make every hunt count, or when I'm low on a resource, if there's just something I could use in a certain spot to try to get that resource that I'm looking to get. But we also don't like to take the charm slot. It means, hey, I can't have my spooky charms going to be rolling those up, or maybe I want to use unstable charms, or maybe I'm a newer player and my catch rate is down a little bit and I want to use something with some stats. It always kind of stinks when your charm slot gets kind of taken away by something that is like, well, no, you have to use it to play the event. So we want to replace that with an item that goes up into the HUD, much like lantern oil, bottled wind, condensed creativity, fireball fuel, etc. Right, and then you get the same effect, but you also are able to use a charm at the same time. So that seems to go over pretty well. So we're looking to kind of adjust that. The greeny greenwood. Did I make a typo? No, I don't have that on screen. Oh, thank goodness. Nid, you gave me a small panic attack. Mitz says, I'm running late again. Good day. Hey, Mitz, thanks for dropping by. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Nanotech, when do we get to open unstable charms? Whenever you like. Just arm them, and they'll start popping. Eileen, I don't have anything that's unstable either. I was wishing I was going to poke a few on stream here just for fun. Open up a few unstable items, but I am out. There's always Royal Loot Crate, Dave. Yeah, that's fair enough. You can always stockpile a couple of those. Let's go grab some. We'll open a few loot crates for fun. To the King's Cart we go. I'm on volume 2 of my encyclopedia. All right. That can satisfy. I can satisfy that itch. Ash asking, will all the old potions still be there? Yes, no plans to remove those. We are kind of keeping an eye on feedback on sort of how players chose to spend their evil extract. That's what it was called, right? Yep. Last year, we might adjust some of the costs of those potions, but we'll see. I mean, we're going to kind of look into that a little bit more. We're going to be digging into that over the next few weeks to see if we want to adjust to the cost of any of the potions. Feel free to kind of keep feedback coming there if you thought something, was too expensive or something. Sean, bait keep potions? Probably not. Alas, probably not. Ryan, anyone going to make the same error of getting ultimate potions and not having enough eye essence for it? Yeah, they look awfully tempting, right? But if you don't have the ammo, don't buy them. You gotta go get the essences. So they definitely make it more efficient to craft, right? You need fewer essences, but you still need some. They're not, it's not free unlimited essences. Did I miss my hunt? I sure did. I zoned out. I failed to catch a bit of Grammarian. Gloomy Gathering Charm. There we go. Fair enough. Yeah, they're called the Gloomy Gathering Charm. I think very colloquially, we always refer to them as Gloomwood Charms. For the Gloomy Greenwood, I'd combine those all in my head. New feature coming out 2027, eh? The Charm Crusher. Yeah, do you need a doctorate to know how to use the Charm Crusher so you can be Dr. Crusher? Allows you to instantly consume one or more charms and trigger their effect, eh? Faster way to roll those spooky charms. That is one thing we're also kind of workshopping a little bit during events, to have the ability to trade in those charms. So spooky charms, maybe you have a lot And like, I don't even want to wait for these all to roll up. Maybe you can just, trade in, much like wealth charms. When Ronza shows up, it's an opportunity to just decide which tier of wealth charm do you want based on how many you have and how many you plan on using. So that's kind of something we're workshopping as well. You just go to the charm shop at the Gloomy Greenwood and be able to exchange up your spooky charms, much similar to the Floating Islands and Ancient Charms. Nid Beverly. All right, Nid, you'll be Beverly, and Norman, you'll be Wesley. All right. Halloween costumes confirmed. Yeah, Ryan bought too many. I never used any of them. That'll be interesting as well, just to look in your inventory and see what potions you got from Halloween that you haven't even used now that almost an entire year has gone by. I will say it could be a nice little gift from your past self. I know I was thanking past Dave for getting some of the Riftier potions because I ran out of Rift Ultimate Lucky Power Charms and I have way too many festive versions. What am I doing with these? Let's just turn those into Rift and let's go. Matt, even looking further ahead into the old event season, do you anticipate golems returning from the Great Winter Hunt? I don't think I have the mental strength to get into golems right this Friday, but we've been working on some winter hunt stuff behind the scenes. But I think we'll save that for another Feedback Friday. I think I have to mentally recuperate before I can discuss golems. Reaper, would be nice if we could sell any potion we have in our inventory for like 1 mandrake. That's kind of interesting. Like smash it with the hammer and get a little bit of mandrake root back. It's a little tricky because your mandrake root goes away at the end of the event. So, I mean, it'd be operating at a pretty big loss, but it'd be a way to kind of save some for next year. So, yeah, it's got some rough edges to it, but... Sean, can we have an increased Black Widow attraction rate base? It's far too low at the bazaar. I'm sure a knowledgeable hunter will correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say either the Forbidden Grove or the Laboratory is a good spot to go. I want to say the Forbidden Grove, but Eileen Aka and Dave said the R word. Ronza? Uh-oh, who said Ronza? But yeah, we touched on everything on Halloween. All right, let's start to think about wrapping up here. We should jump into the trivia because it's also got a Halloween vibe to it. And hey, I remembered to hide the question. I also need to... Quad. Here it comes. There we go. Here's Giorgio. I don't need to hide the camera. All right.
Oh, wait. Okay, hold on a sec. Oh, okay.
You're popping in for the quar.
Quad. I have the stream muted, so I don't know if I'm actually coming through here.
Yeah, you should be.
Quad.
Sure, everyone will let us know. How are we? Am I louder than Giorgio? Can you hear Giorgio? Giorgio, would you like to do the honors and read this week's trivia question?
I would. Shall I begin?
Please.
All right. They can all see it already, but the question is, what imprints were left behind at the Gloomy Greenwood, or the Greeny Gloomwood, if you prefer to call it by its incorrect name?
I like to call things by the wrong name frequently enough. Forward Farm got just, butchered by me on many occasions.
And there's a volume problem. They can hardly hear me.
Can hear Giorgio, but you're loud.
What if I talk like this? Is this better? I have a few answers rolling in. 48? 48 is not the correct answer.
I'll scooch Giorgio's volume up a little bit.
Oh, and now I'm getting in the comments, my ears! Okay, so you turned up the volume. I turned up my volume. Bad combo right there.
I think somebody maybe got the answer right, though, there.
I think so, too. I see it right there. It's Diamond Knight, I believe, has given us the correct answer of chicken feet. Because the hut itself has chicken feet. Because of Baba Yaga herself having chicken feet. It's all about the chickens.
Bark,
as
bark.
they say.
I will put the link in the chat for your clicking convenience.
Quad. You have put the link in the chat?
Sign into chat. Uh-oh.
Okay, let me type it out. I'll type it out. Officially. Oh, you got it. Okay. No, yeah, it wasn't mouse feet. Someone said house feet. I guess that's also technically true. It was the feet of the house,
Yeah.
which happened to be chicken feet.
Yeah, you can even see it if we go back one slide here. And yeah, they can still hear
Hooray.
you. Hold on.
Super spooky. David got 1,500 sandblasted metal from that link.
Again? But even here, we can take a look at the hut. No pizza in this hut, but still. You can see it back there.
Nice. Look at that. You got Baba. You got the house. You got a spooky little pumpkin.
Alex says, according to Jacob, it's part of a race of migratory houses, and the event location was its nest, eh? I think he did draw the Halloween event location on a Feedback Friday art stream, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Ash going got 1,400 sandblasted metal. Uh-oh.
Only 1,400. It's okay because the fact that everyone got thousands means they're worthless now anyway, so it's all right.
Self-balancing.
Self-balancing.
Norman only got 6 ribs and Reaper only got 500 Nobel prizes. Who changed the reward links to just be random items or something?
Yeah, it's that exact link actually is randomly generated every time you load it. It was very complicated code and it was a horrible idea. We shouldn't have done it.
Final Heart, will existing charms be converted to the incense items, or will we be able to use them together? So we got to kind of figure that out a little bit once we firm up exactly what the incense is doing. So we'll see. We're kind of thinking about some sort of exchange rate, because even long-term goal to have fewer charms in the game as well. I feel like that's common sentiment. I don't know how you feel, Giorgio, but when you click to change your charm, do you ever just sit there and question life for a little while?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we do it. There's a decent enough like recommendation system, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know, like yeah, there's just too much to scroll through, and I find mobile is a little more clunky in that way because you have to often, I think there's like 4 of them that show up there, and you have to often hit like show me more, and then it's like okay, here's everything. Then you got to search and or sort. Now you can sort, but yeah, it's definitely needs a bit of a cleanup in that interface. Delete them all. Just delete all the charms. Turn them all into one charm called do it all once.
You have to combine all the charms in your inventory and just get one of those. But then, hey, you only have one charm that way, right?
Yeah, easy. It's one charm, but it's like oh yeah, the quantity you bounce. You convert all your charms down to like a single one with like an averaged out like range of all your power and luck values. And the same count as the number of charms you had.
We're venturing firmly into Franco shop ideation now, is what I'm hearing.
Thank you. I've been taking that up today. I've been doing a lot of Franco shop ideas in the chat this morning.
Oh, right. I was going to poke a few boxes here. Let me see if I can set that up.
ADM referencing the Omni Trap. Yeah, it's a classic. You'd use the Omni Trap and the single charm, the Omni Charm all together. Perfect. The unstable charm blender or the charm crusher like earlier, right? You throw in your charms and let it just see what happens.
All right, I'm just setting up. We'll poke a few loot boxes here, loot crates.
Loot crates.
Is this gonna work? Hey, it's gonna work. Oh, we lost Giorgio though. They can hear you. They can't see you though.
Oh, that's fine. I'm now just a radio call. I'm a caller. I'm a call-in host guest.
Hey, I didn't open all my floating reindeer crates from last year. Uh-oh.
Open them now. Nice. Oh, dude, sick. Wow, I can't believe you got cheddar. Cheddar was a marble? I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, pebbles.
Gemstone.
Ooh, nice. Gemstone's not bad, not bad.
I don't know if I want a roof rack charm.
Oh, you got it. Now you gotta go. I'm setting up a train right now just for you.
Got too many charms, Giorgio.
Too many charms. Too many charms. Too many charms.
It's a lot of charms. Just a lot of charms to show for my troubles. Well, shall we wrap things up, Giorgio?
Yes.
Any exciting news to share on your end?
Like in my about my life or mouse hunt.
Yeah, either or, really.
Um, nah.
All right.
Yeah, I've been working on some fun stuff here. Some of it you'll hear about soon. Um, I got a new bike last month. That was pretty cool.
It's been good weather for biking.
Pretty decent.
How'd your latest encyclopedia run go?
Oh yeah. It was decent. I did. Hold on, let me go look at my stats here. I think I got to volume 7 or 6, and it's only my second. Like I haven't like built up enough thingy things. What do you call them?
I think you
39 hunts. That was my
finished
longest
one
race.
yesterday,
Like,
right?
session. Not bad, not bad. And now I'm just chilling in the farm. I've been doing a lot of like pond and table contents, like juggling, with Stormy Clam and some ink and kind of building up for a book run there. And now I just want to like chill for a bit. So I'm back in the farm. I'm gonna need papyrus anyway. I'm almost like out of papyrus, so it's a nice like break from the cognitive load. I can just chill out for a little while and
Yeah, that's what I've been enjoying too. That nice little ebb and flow, the cadence of it. It's like if you're not in the mood to like see
yeah.
that showdown, you can just go to the farm for a little bit, or just go fishing. I'm just gonna sit on the dock. I'm just gonna get some grubs. I know I'll need them
Yeah.
later.
Chill with the yeah. I've got a bunch of grubs. I think I got a ton of grubs from the gift of the day the other day. That's a nice little infusion of grubs there. Because I kind of lasted a couple days. I was able to collect there. But yeah, I'm low on Stormy Clam. I was like, I don't want to like run out while I'm like not paying attention. So farm. I even turned off my condensed creativity when I'm in the farm. Takes a little longer, but it's okay. I'm in like chill out mode.
Yeah.
Save it for
Monkey
the
was asking who the most active hit grab hunter is. I think we might have to nominate Norman for catching up and reaching the floating islands in like a year, I think, or maybe it was a little over a year.
in terms of like yeah daily activity. We're all like pretty close, but he's crushed it for sure. He's done it like efficiently to get to a point in a year or two where he's just like right up there with the long time players. Archduke in 10 months. There you go. Right from Norm's mouth there in chat. That's wild. Funnily enough, we had another hit grab employee from some time ago who wasn't on the MouseHunt team and isn't working here anymore. And he's still actively playing, and he got to Folklore Forest. And it's like we didn't even know he played. I think I discovered like halfway through his career here that he was like a huge fan, and he just caught right up to Archduke as well. So he's pretty active, and good to see him still kind of playing there. It's fun to see.
Well, the last hunt to Feedback Friday.
Oh, of course. Are you bitter about that, Dave? Would you
Yeah.
say you're pretty bitter about?
Yeah, the bitter grammarian's making me bitter. Yeah, Norm went all out during Lunar New Year to do a prestige push with that luck bonus. Over 100
Push it.
hunts per day. That's a lot of waking up in the night and just like hitting the widget and just going back to sleep.
It helps too that during the week I'm obviously more active, and we're playing MouseHunt all day while working on MouseHunt. So I think I get a solid 8 to 10 hours of just like every horn gets hit during the day at least.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, we'll wrap things up for the week. Thank you for joining us, Hunters. Georgia, thanks for popping in during the quar.
Quad.
Question, answer, reward. That's kind of missing now. We've got to return to the branding of quar somewhere.
What do you mean? It says a question, answer, reward right there.
I guess so.
What do you mean? What's
It's not nicely aligned anymore, though,
Well, whose fault is that, Dave?
This guy's.
It's kind of if you look at it, it's like this.
It's no good. It's got to be a line. Left justified. All right, thanks for joining me, Hunters. Keep the feedback coming as well, whether it be on Discord, forums, Facebook page. Kind of let us know your impressions of kind of the things to come here. Folklore Forest treasure maps. Halloween's just around the corner. Like I mentioned, we seem on track. We're aiming for the end of September for Folklore Forest treasure maps to come. It's going to include a new type of plant to grow at the farm to be able to use your crop coins after you have all the upgrades going, or maybe even before then, up to you. As well as a way to disarm your bait in the table of contents. You can look forward to those changes. And of course, the maps themselves, which will be a whole lot of fun.
The maps themselves. Very showmanistic of you. That's a word.
I'll go into. I should have been a magician, you know. I don't know.
That's true. You should have been.
And reveals. All right. Well, have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Once again, thanks for joining us, and happy hunting.
Two.
You're a trap, don't seem to mind it. You attract me, I'm a mouse, you're a cat, I don't seem to mind it. Soft and furry, oh, and just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Just when you think you're safe, snap. I come back, you don't seem to mind it. But I'm a fool, broke my back, you don't seem to mind it. 'Cause you're so cool. And just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Ooh. And just when you think you're safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe.